on and on. You know what you really need? You need life that comes from within. You need to go back and know that you've been created in the image of God. That's what Jesus will do. That's the knowledge He will give you. That's the assurance. And that creation and that life comes from within. It's in areas that are hard to measure. You know, it's amazing what we have done scientifically. And that came from God too. From the very beginning, He said, go and have dominion over all creation. Go. He gave us the ability to investigate, to learn, to even control. Do you know right now they're growing organs in laboratories? They've grown traits. They're working on growing a heart. And do that. They'll give this structure, and I read it, and then they, with a detergent, they wash it, then they put the stem cells in, and all of a sudden, they say the stem cells just know what to do. But that's what's coming up here. I mean, we're developing organs. No longer will it be plastic and metal and all of that. It's living tissue. It's alive, you know? That's come from the brains and the intelligence that God has given us. And it's wonderful. Well, do you know the things we've been able to see about the universe from the Hubble telescope? Unbelievable. Just getting that telescope up there is a miracle in and of itself. We can put people on the moon, we can bring them back, we can have people in space. We're seeing galaxies forming now. Unbelievable. And yet with all this great advancement, pick up the newspaper. We hate. We're prejudiced. We're greedy. We'll lie. We'll become untrustworthy. We may kill. We'll do all sorts of things. And you're thinking, what happened? Look how advanced we are. But the hearts of people need help. I'm all for growing a new heart in the laboratory, but the living hope came to change the heart that's in you right now. I don't want to put a new heart in someone and go right back to lying to me. That destroys it. We want the type of life that gives us things like meaning, like significance, like purpose, things you cannot create in a laboratory. Things you cannot purchase in a department store. We try and seek it in all these other things that are temporary and transitory at best. That's what we want. We want love. To be loved and to love. We want hope. We want faith. Peter says that we've been given a living hope. That's what the resurrection is. If you want to live, He's alive for you. He is here now. He will answer your questions about what goes beyond death. Martin Luther once said, until a man is free to die, he'll never be free to live. The fear of death paralyzes us. Why? We don't know. It's the unknown. It's like looking out at the horizon, going out in a boat. You know, think of the first explorers. All they had was a horizon and a hunch. And some of the people were saying, you're going to fall off the edge of the earth if you keep doing that. Because they couldn't see. All they could see is the horizon. And all we can see is that horizon called death. And we just don't know, is there something beyond that? Somebody came back. Somebody has come back and now put in perspective in our life a living hope. Someone is walking with us and helping us do that. Showing us where we came from and where we're going. Peter talked about this inheritance in heaven. It's not just sitting around, oh boy, I got an inheritance. The inheritance in heaven is becoming everything you were created to be perfectly. And being with God for all eternity. Every yearning of your heart finds its perfect fulfillment when you are with Him. That inheritance is being worked out right now. This living hope. God is a God of relationship, not of ritual. We may have gotten used for years coming to an Easter service or a Christmas service. The good news is He's not relegated to either of those. That we get to celebrate, we get to walk, we get to commune and understand Him every single day. And Peter talks about that in this passage here. He says, though you do not see Him, you love Him. We think, how can that be? If I can't see anyone, how can I really know Him? You know what? The people we see, we don't know. Proximity does not guarantee intimacy or knowledge, does it? What does it mean to know somebody? It means to be open, to share, to commune, to focus, to understand, to listen, all of these qualities. And when we do that with somebody, we build a friendship, we walk away and say, I know that person. I know that. Well, where did this knowledge come from? Did you buy it somewhere? No, it's something happened. And the living hope, the one that left the tomb and is now alive, that you do not see, builds that knowledge, that relationship in you as you live your day-to-day life. Do you want to live? He wants to give you life. Without the empty tomb, it's just a tragedy. With the empty tomb, it's an exclamation point. It means that life is available for all of us through him. Second question, will you remember? Will you remember? In just a minute, we are going to partake of the Lord's Supper. There's a bit of bread, a bit of juice in here. And this will be a time of memorial. You know, sometimes the scriptures say the early church devoted themselves to the apostles' teaching and the breaking of bread. Well, sometimes I have to devote myself to opening these things, so don't get frustrated, okay? It can be a little bit of a challenge. But at the proper time, I'm going to say a prayer, and we will observe this communion time, and we will commune together. But the real issue right now is, will you remember? Jesus came out of the grave that we would remember. Look over in 1 Corinthians chapter 11. Starting in verse 23. For I received from the Lord what I also passed on to you. The Lord Jesus, on the night he was betrayed, took bread, and when he had given thanks, he broke it and said, This is my body, which is for you. Do this in remembrance of me. In the same way, after supper, he took the cup, saying, This cup is the new covenant in my blood. Do this whenever you drink it in remembrance of me. For whenever you eat this bread and drink this cup, you proclaim the Lord's death until he comes. Will you remember during this time what he did for you? Will you remember that death? And yes, that resurrection. Because we proclaim that death till he comes again. He is alive. But will you remember that? I want to appeal to those of you that doubt and struggle with doubt. You know, is this true? Is this not? I'm here because someone invited me and I like coming to cultural things. Thank you so much for being here. I appreciate that. Let me challenge you. What should you remember? I mean, if you don't know, I doubt this. I don't know. What should you remember? I want you to go back to what I opened up with. Something happened. That's what I want you to remember. Something happened. Something that can't just be dismissed and say, well, it's just the projection of people's wishes. Because you see, people like Saul of Tarsus that changed, and Peter, who proclaims that I'm going to go preach his word, these people gave their lives for it. Now, people give their lives for a lot of things, a lot of good causes. But you know what we don't find in history? People giving their lives for something they know isn't true. A lot of examples of people that give lives for things they hope is true. Peter and Paul both lived their lives in response to the fact that they saw the risen Christ. They saw that death did not hold him. They saw that because of that, he is God. And because of that, they could live their lives boldly and without hindrance and without apprehension. Because you know what? If God is for you, then who can be against you? They knew that. And if you're doubting here today, you've got to ask yourself, remember that. Why is that? And I know sometimes you may say, yeah, but think of all the bad things that have happened. I'm sure if you and I were to get together, I think I could probably do a list longer than your list of all the bad things happening in the name of Christ. But let me tell you something. We're here in New York. Did you know, of course you know this, you can go to some places in New York And there are vendors there that will sell you a nice watch. And they will tell you that this watch is a Rolex. And you will say, that's wonderful, and how much is this Rolex? And they will say, $25 for I am the king shopper of all time. And you look at it, and it says Rolex, and you go. And the minute you put it on, you go up to see the time, the crystal goes flying off, right? And you go back to the vendor, you can't find them. Did you know that there are places, and I'm going to come out here on fashion, where you can buy Prada fashion, all right? And you will buy a Prada